Imagine turning every high-stakes conversation in your life into a massive win instead of a regret. The ones that decide whether you get the promotion, whether your marriage gets stronger or slowly falls apart, whether you stay healthy or quietly pay the price in stress and health problems. That's exactly what you'll learn in this audiobook summary of Crucial Conversations. This book gives you the proven tools to speak up clearly and confidently when the stakes are high, opinions clash, and emotions run hot, without damaging relationships or killing your career. Master these moments, and you'll get ahead faster at work, build deeper trust with the people you love, and even improve your physical health. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the exact skills that let you handle any tough conversation and walk away with the outcome you actually want. Let's dive in. Chapter 1, Crucial Conversations. What if the conversations you're avoiding right now, or the ones you keep messing up, are quietly shaping the rest of your life? A crucial conversation is any discussion where three things happen at once. The stakes are high, opinions vary, and emotions run strong. These aren't small talk moments. These are the conversations that decide whether you get the promotion, whether your marriage gets stronger or drifts apart, whether your team hits its goals or whether a friendship survives. They happen at work with your boss, at home with your partner or kids, and even with neighbors or colleagues. When they go well, your life improves. When they go badly, or when you avoid them entirely, the damage can last for years. The problem is, most of us are terrible at them. When the stakes rise, our bodies betray us. Adrenaline kicks in, blood leaves the parts of our brain responsible for clear thinking, and we're suddenly operating with the same equipment as a scared monkey. Fight, flee, or freeze. That's why we either avoid the conversation completely or we walk into it and say things we later regret. We send emails instead of talking face to face. We give the silent treatment. We drop sarcastic hints. We blow up, and none of it works. Worse, our poor handling creates self-defeating loops. The more you avoid or attack, the more the other person pulls away or pushes back, and the problem gets bigger. The book gives powerful real-life examples. The couple growing distant because of unspoken resentment, roommates turning into enemies over small issues, colleagues watching a boss make a terrible decision because no one dares speak up. Then comes the most important part of the chapter, the audacious claim that changes everything. Mastering crucial conversations is the single highest leverage skill you can develop. Do it well, and you will accelerate your career. The best performers are the ones who can speak honestly to power without getting crushed. Dramatically improve your relationships, boost your organization's results, strengthen your community, and even protect your physical health. Yes, science shows that constant unresolved conflict weakens your immune system and shortens your life. The authors are blunt. Every time you avoid or botch one of these conversations, you pay a real price in money, trust, health, and happiness. But here's the hope. These conversations are not reserved for naturally gifted people. The skills are learnable, and this book is going to show you exactly how. Chapter 2, Mastering Crucial Conversations, the Power of Dialogue. Imagine being the person everyone turns to when the conversation gets tense, because they know you'll handle it better than anyone else in the room. That's exactly who the authors set out to study. For 25 years, they watched thousands of people at work and at home, looking for the ones who consistently got extraordinary results in high-stakes situations. The pattern was unmistakable. The most influential people weren't necessarily the smartest, the loudest, or the most experienced. They were simply the best at handling crucial conversations. One story brings this to life. Kevin, a vice president, sat in a tense executive meeting where the CEO was pushing a bad decision that would affect the entire company. Everyone else stayed silent. Kevin didn't. In a calm, respectful way, he pointed out what was really happening. The CEO paused, admitted Kevin was right, and the team made a much better choice. Kevin didn't attack or back down. He simply kept the real meaning flowing. That single ability turned out to be the secret. The authors call it the one thing that matters most, the free flow of meaning. They named it dialogue Dialogue is the free and open exchange of ideas, opinions, and feelings between people, even when the topic is controversial and emotions are running high. When dialogue is happening, everyone adds their thoughts to a shared pool of meaning. The bigger that pool becomes, the smarter the final decision and the stronger everyone's commitment to it. Without dialogue, the pool stays shallow. People hold back their real opinions, smile and nod while secretly disagreeing, or push their ideas aggressively. The result is always the same: poor decisions, resentment, and half-hearted follow-through. You've seen it at work when a team pretends to agree in the meeting and then quietly sabotages the plan afterward. You felt it at home when small issues slowly poison a relationship because no one dares speak honestly. The authors make it clear that most of us swing between two extremes when conversations turn crucial. We either go to silence, biting our tongue and avoiding the issue, or we go to violence, trying to force our opinion with sarcasm, threats, or verbal attacks. Both approaches destroy the shared pool of meaning. The good news is that dialogue is a skill, not a gift. The people who master crucial conversations aren't born that way. They've simply learned how to create safety, stay in control of their own emotions, and keep the meaning flowing even when the stakes are high. Master this one skill and everything changes. You stop dreading tough talks and start turning them into breakthroughs. That's what the rest of the book teaches you to do. And that's why the power of dialogue is the foundation for everything that follows. Chapter 3, Start with Heart. How to stay focused on what you really want. Imagine stepping into a tense conversation and staying completely calm, clear-headed and focused. Even when someone attacks you, criticizes you, or pushes your buttons, you don't get defensive, you don't shut down. Instead, you steer the discussion toward a real solution that works for everyone. That's what this chapter delivers. The authors reveal the very first skill that separates people who master crucial conversations from everyone else. They start with heart. Before they say a single word, they get their own motives right. They ask themselves a set of simple but powerful questions. What do I really want for myself? What do I really want for the other person? What do I really want for our relationship? And most importantly, how would I behave right now if those were my true goals? This single habit changes everything. Most of us walk into high-stakes talks with the best intentions, but the moment things get uncomfortable, our motives quietly shift. We start trying to win the argument. We look for revenge, or we just want to stay safe and avoid conflict. Suddenly, we're caught in what the book calls a sucker's choice, the false belief that we can either be honest or be kind, either speak up or keep the peace, but never both. That thinking traps us and destroys dialogue. The chapter shows you how to catch yourself the instant your motives drift and instantly refocus on what you truly want. One powerful example is Greta, a CEO who gets publicly called out for not following her own cost-cutting rules. In that split second, instead of defending herself or attacking back, she pauses, asks herself what she really wants, and turns the criticism into an honest, productive conversation that strengthens trust with her entire leadership team. The authors prove that the only person you can control in any crucial conversation is yourself. When you start with heart, you stop playing the old games of silence or violence. You refuse the sucker's choice and search for the creative solution that lets you be both honest and respectful, direct and safe, candid and caring. Master this one principle, and every tough conversation becomes easier. You stay in control of yourself, you keep the meaning flowing, and you dramatically increase the chances of getting the outcome you actually want without damaging the relationship. This is the foundation that makes everything else in the book work. When your heart is right, the rest of the skills become natural. Chapter 4. Learn to look. How to notice when safety is at risk. Imagine being in the middle of a conversation that's quietly starting to go off the rails. Yet instead of getting pulled into the drama, you instantly see exactly what's happening and know precisely how to steer it back on track. That's the game-changing skill you develop in this chapter. While most people get completely wrapped up in the content of what's being said, the most effective communicators learn to step back and look at the conversation itself. They watch for two things at once: the moment the discussion turns crucial and the instant safety begins to disappear. Safety is the invisible force that keeps dialogue alive. When people feel safe, they freely add their ideas, feelings, and opinions to the shared pool of meaning. The moment safety drops, even for a second, the conversation collapses. People either go to silence, they mask their true thoughts, avoid the topic, or completely withdraw, or they go to violence. They try to control the discussion, label others, or attack. The authors show you how to spot these warning signs in real time before the damage is done. You learn to notice the subtle cues, the sudden drop in eye contact, the sarcastic tone, the long pause, the raised voice, the defensive body language. You also learn to recognize the same signals in yourself, because the person most likely to kill the conversation is often you. This is where the chapter introduces one of the most practical tools in the entire book, your personal style under stress. Once you understand your default reaction when you feel threatened, whether you tend to avoid, accommodate, attack, or manipulate, you can catch yourself the instant you start doing it and choose a better path. Mastering this single ability gives you a massive advantage. You stop being blindsided by emotional blow-ups. You stop wondering why a conversation suddenly turned ugly. Instead, you see the problem the moment it appears, and you know exactly what to do next. Learn to look is the awareness skill that makes every other technique in the book usable. It turns you from someone who reacts to someone who leads, even in the most heated moments. And once you can clearly see when safety is at risk, the next step becomes obvious, learning exactly how to restore it. Chapter 5, Make It Safe. How to make it safe to talk about almost anything. Imagine being able to say the hard thing, the one that could blow up the relationship or kill your career, and instead of triggering defensiveness or silence, the other person actually leans in and engages with you. That is exactly what this chapter teaches you to do. Once you've learned to spot when safety is disappearing, the next skill is learning how to create it and restore it instantly. The authors explain that safety is the invisible key that keeps dialogue alive. When people feel safe, they open up and add everything they're thinking and feeling to the shared pool of meaning. The moment safety vanishes, the conversation dies. People either go silent and withhold their real opinions, or turn to violence and try to force their point. Safety rests on two simple conditions: mutual respect and mutual purpose. When either one is missing, the conversation becomes unsafe. The chapter shows you exactly how to notice when these conditions are breaking down and gives you practical tools to fix them in the moment. You learn how to use contrast, a powerful way to clarify your real intentions so the other person stops assuming the worst. You discover how to rebuild mutual purpose when goals seem opposed, and you find out when and how to offer a sincere apology that can instantly turn a hostile moment around. The authors share real examples of people who were able to speak about explosive topics, performance problems, affairs, major disagreements, without destroying the relationship simply because they knew how to restore safety first. Master this skill, and you gain the ability to talk about almost anything with almost anyone. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop dreading the tough conversations. Instead, you become the person who can bring up the unspeakable and turn it into a productive, honest dialogue. With safety in place, everything else you learn in the book finally becomes possible. Chapter 6, Master My Stories. How to stay in dialogue when you're angry, scared, or hurt. Imagine feeling genuinely angry, scared, or deeply hurt in the middle of a crucial conversation, yet still staying calm, clear, and completely in control of what you say next. That is the powerful skill you learn in this chapter. When emotions spike, most of us don't realize we're telling ourselves a story that fuels those feelings. We turn the other person into a villain, ourselves into a victim, or the situation into something hopeless. These stories feel completely true in the moment, so we react with silence or violence, and the conversation collapses. The authors reveal that you can interrupt this cycle by mastering your own stories. They teach you a simple but life-changing process called the path to action. You see and hear something. You tell yourself a story about it. You feel strong emotions, and then you act. The moment you learn to slow down and examine the story you're creating, you regain control. You discover how to separate the raw facts from the dramatic story you've added on top. Then you ask yourself 3 powerful questions. What am I really feeling? What story am I telling myself? And most importantly, what other more useful story could explain what's happening? By rewriting your story, you change how you feel and dramatically improve how you behave. Once you master your stories, you stop being hijacked by your emotions. You can feel upset and still stay in genuine dialogue. You speak honestly without attacking. You listen without shutting down. This single skill keeps the shared pool of meaning alive even when your heart is racing. Master My Stories is the internal work that makes every other technique in the book possible. When you can control the story in your head, you can handle any crucial conversation with confidence and skill. Chapter 7. State My Path. How to speak persuasively, not abrasively. Imagine having the confidence to say exactly what you think, even about the most sensitive or controversial topic, and having the other person actually listen, understand, and respect what you say instead of getting defensive or attacking back. That is the skill you master in this chapter. Once safety is restored, it's your turn to speak. Most people either hold back and say nothing, or they blurt out their opinions in a way that feels harsh and triggers resistance. The authors give you a simple, memorable tool called State that lets you share your strongest views in a way that is both honest and respectful. State stands for the 5 steps that turn your raw thoughts into persuasive dialogue. Share your facts first. Tell your story clearly. Ask for the other person's path. Talk tentatively so you don't sound like you're forcing your opinion, and encourage testing by inviting pushback. You learn exactly how to move from the facts you observed to the story you created to what you want to happen next, all without sounding accusatory or superior. The chapter shows you why starting with facts keeps people from becoming defensive, why telling your story adds the meaning that matters most, and how talking tentatively and encouraging testing keeps the conversation open and collaborative. Instead of turning it into a debate you have to win. Real examples bring it to life. A manager giving tough feedback to an employee, a spouse addressing a painful issue at home, a team member challenging a bad decision, all without damaging the relationship. Master State, and you stop worrying about whether you'll come across as too soft or too harsh. You gain the ability to speak persuasively about anything, knowing you can express your real opinions while keeping the other person safe and the dialogue alive. This is the chapter that turns you from someone who dreads speaking up into someone people actually want to hear from when the stakes are high. Chapter 8. Explore others' paths. How to listen. When others blow up or clam up, imagine being in the middle of a conversation when the other person suddenly explodes with anger or shuts down completely, and instead of reacting, freezing, or making things worse, you stay calm and skillfully draw out their real thoughts and feelings so the dialogue gets back on track. That is the exact skill this chapter gives you. When safety disappears, people don't just disagree, they either blow up or clam up. Most of us either fight back, withdraw, or try to fix the problem too quickly. The authors show you how to do the opposite. You learn to explore the other person's path. Instead of defending your own position, you make it safe for them to share everything that's in their head, their facts, their stories, their feelings, so the shared pool of meaning can grow again. You discover a simple 4-step listening tool called AMPP. Ask to invite them to speak, mirror their emotions to show you understand, paraphrase what they're saying to confirm you heard them correctly, and prime the conversation if they're still holding back. These steps turn even the most emotional or silent moments into productive dialogue. The chapter is filled with powerful examples. A boss facing an angry employee, a spouse dealing with a partner who has gone silent, a parent trying to reach a rebellious teenager. In every case, the person who learned to explore the other's path was able to turn conflict into understanding and resistance into collaboration. Master this skill, and you stop being afraid of other people's emotions. You become the person who can handle blow-ups and silence without losing control or damaging the relationship. You create the conditions where even the most difficult people feel safe enough to open up and tell you what they really think. Explore others' paths is the listening half of the dialogue equation. Combined with the speaking skills from the previous chapter, it gives you the complete ability to keep the meaning flowing no matter how heated or awkward the conversation becomes. Chapter 9. Move to action. How to turn crucial conversations into action and results. Imagine finally having a powerful, honest, crucial conversation, only to watch it fade into nothing because nothing actually changes afterward. This chapter solves that problem once and for all. After you've created safety, shared your meaning, and explored the other person's path, the conversation still isn't complete until you turn everything you've discussed into clear, committed action. The authors show you exactly how to move from great dialogue to great results without leaving loose ends, confusion, or broken promises. You learn how to decide together how the final decision will be made. Will you use command, consultation, voting, or consensus? The chapter gives you a simple way to choose the right method so everyone knows exactly what to expect and feels respected in the process. Then you discover how to create crystal clear agreements about who will do what, by when, and how you'll follow up. Most people end crucial conversations with vague hope instead of concrete plans. This chapter teaches you to avoid that trap. You'll learn how to document decisions in a way that prevents later misunderstandings and how to build accountability that actually sticks. Real-life examples show managers turning team conflicts into clear action plans, couples finally resolving long-standing issues with specific agreements, and leaders turning emotional meetings into measurable results. Master move to action, and every crucial conversation you have will end with forward momentum instead of frustration. You stop wasting time on endless talks that go nowhere. Instead, you create real change, stronger commitment, and lasting solutions. This final step completes the dialogue process. When you combine it with everything you've learned in the previous chapters, you don't just handle tough conversations well, you turn them into the results you actually want. Chapter 10. Putting it all together. Tools for preparing and learning. Imagine walking into the most important conversation of your week fully prepared, knowing exactly what to say, how to say it, and how to keep the dialogue alive even if things get tense. That is what this chapter finally makes possible. After teaching you all the individual skills, the authors now pull everything together into a practical system you can use before, during, and after any crucial conversation. They give you simple, ready-to-use tools that let you prepare in advance, instead of winging it and hoping for the best. You learn a clear preparation checklist that helps you get your heart right, clarify what you really want, think through the other person's likely point of view, and plan how you will state your path and explore theirs. The chapter shows you exactly how to practice these conversations in your mind so you show up calm, confident, and focused when the real moment arrives. Even better, you discover how to turn every conversation into a learning opportunity. After it's over, you review what went well and what you could improve, so each tough talk makes you better at the next one. The authors emphasize that these skills are not one-time tricks. They become natural through deliberate practice and honest self-reflection. Master this chapter, and you stop dreading crucial conversations. Instead, you approach them with a clear plan and the quiet confidence that you know exactly how to handle whatever comes up. You move from reacting in the moment to leading with skill and purpose. Putting it all together is the bridge that turns everything you've learned so far from separate ideas into a complete, repeatable system you can use for the rest of your life. Chapter 11. Yeah, but advice for tough cases. Imagine you've learned all the tools, you're ready to try them, and then real life hits you with a situation that feels impossible. Your boss is defensive and powerful. The other person refuses to talk. Emotions are completely out of control, or there are 4 angry people in the room at once. This chapter is written exactly for those moments. The authors answer the most common, "yeah, but" questions people ask when they first try to apply the skills. What if the other person has more power than you? What if they blow up no matter what you do? What if they stay silent and give you nothing to work with? What if the conversation involves your family, a large group, or a deeply personal issue like betrayal or addiction? You get clear, practical advice for every difficult case. The chapter shows you how to adapt the tools without losing their power, how to speak up to someone higher in the organization, how to restart a conversation when it has completely collapsed, and how to handle people who seem unwilling or unable to engage in dialogue. Instead of giving up when things get messy, you learn how to stay in the conversation longer, restore safety faster, and still get the results you want, even in the toughest circumstances. Master the advice in this chapter, and you remove the last excuses that stop most people from using these skills. You become the person who can handle not just normal, crucial conversations, but the really hard ones that everyone else avoids. Chapter 12. Change your life. How to turn ideas into habits. Imagine looking back 6 months from now and realizing that the difficult conversations you used to dread have become the moments you handle with confidence and skill, naturally, without having to think about it. That is exactly what this final chapter shows you how to make happen. Knowing the tools is not enough. The authors explain that real change only occurs when you turn these ideas into daily habits. They give you a practical plan to move from understanding the skills to actually living them, so they become your new automatic way of communicating. You learn how to deliberately practice the principles in low-stakes situations first, then gradually apply them to the conversations that matter most. The chapter shows you how to catch yourself when you slip back into old patterns of silence or violence, how to recover quickly, and how to use small daily wins to build lasting confidence. Most importantly, the authors remind you that these crucial conversation skills are not just techniques, they are a new way of living. When you practice them consistently, they don't just improve your conversations, they strengthen your relationships, advance your career, protect your health, and give you a deep sense of personal power. Master this final step, and everything you've learned in the previous chapters becomes part of who you are. You stop hoping for better outcomes and start creating them every single time the stakes are high. This is how one book can truly change your life, not by giving you information, but by giving you the ability to turn that information into a new and better way of being.